He's got it right in the heart of the cup. Dustin Johnson with a fist pump. He's the champion.
Now, on a Tuesday edition of Morning Drive, hot off his fourth win of the season, we'll show you how world number one Dustin Johnson has improved his game and get the inside information from one of his coaches. After being hospitalized in Canada, will Michelle Wie be back in time for the year's final major? Our insider has the latest on the LPGA superstar. And speaking of insiders, our travel insider heads to Steelers country, where he encounters big game, big thrills, and Big Ben.
What do you take from football to the golf course?
We'll learn that and much more today on Morning Drive this Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. Welcome inside Studio AP, this Tuesday edition of Morning Drive. Damon Hack alongside a three-time PGA Tour winner and Chris DeMarco. Good morning, buddy. How are things? How was your Monday evening?
A little fantasy draft, which was nice.
Football or golf?
Yeah, football.
Yeah?
Football, yeah.
How'd you do?
I don't know. We'll see.
All right, yeah, no, it's still early. Well, I'll tell you what, for a long time, Tiger Woods would have been the first pick in any golf draft. Now, yesterday we did an On This Date in History. You could probably do 365 days of On This Date in History with Tiger Woods. How about 1996 On This Date in History? Tiger, his first round, Chris DeMarco, as a professional, he began with a 336-yard drive down the right side of the fairway.
Then he hits a nice little approach here to just underneath the hole. Pretty good little start, huh?
Hello, world.
Everybody watching?
Off and running. What do you remember about the era, this time when Tiger turned pro off of that third straight U.S. amateur title?
I just remember the hype that went with it. There was so much hype that went with him. And, you know, it was funny. I think he finished like 60th that week.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, look, he just finished 60th. I think he won 2 of the next 6.
Yeah, he
First
did.
7 starts, he won twice. Made it to the Tour Championship and obviously went on to win 77 other ones on top of that.
He figured it out pretty quickly. From
Pretty quickly.
Former world number one to the current world number one, Dustin Johnson. Yeah, he's who's happening now. Number one in the world, number one in the FedEx Cup standings, fresh off that 4th win this season and 4th ever playoff win. What a great duel he had with Jordan Spieth on Long Island. And you'll notice something, a shakeup in the FedEx Cup standings in that top 10. DJ now number 1. You see Hideki Matsuyama was number 1. He dropped to number 4 off that miscut. Look at the big mover in Johnny Vegas off a tie for 3rd. That final round 65 moved him from 29th to 10th. But they're all chasing Dustin Johnson. For more, we say good morning to Golf Channel Academy lead coach Travis Fulton.
D-Hack, you looking good over here. This is all too strange. Look where I'm sitting here this morning. I like this seat. Damon, I just might be here for the rest of the day. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Dustin Johnson winning his 4th tournament of the year and joining us now. One of his coaches getting up early for us here, which we appreciate, Claude Harmon III. How you doing, Claude?
I'm good. Everything is good.
All right. Hey, Claude, I want to take our viewers into a conversation that you and I had back earlier in the season when Dustin won 3 straight times, playing some really dominant golf. And it's a conversation that you and your dad had, Butch, with Dustin about the commitment to going to the fade. What has that meant to DJ's game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's helped him drive the golf ball a lot better. It's helped him eliminate one side of the golf course. And, you know, certainly when he's healthy and firing all cylinders, it allows him to be unbelievably aggressive off the tee. And I think we saw that last week in New York, you know, in the playoff, and the way he drove it pretty much all week. You know, he feels like his body's starting to move a little bit better, and he's moving back towards kind of the swing and the form that he had, you know, pre-Masters. And it's a dangerous combination, you know, when you have a player who has his length and then has the confidence and the freedom to just basically swing as hard as he can and fly a lot of the trouble.
Hey, Claude, Chris DeMarco here. He looks so much more comfortable on the greens. What fundamentals are you guys working on to make his putting that much better?
Yeah, you know, Chris, last week he made the choice to switch putters. He went from, you know, the spider putter that he's been using really since around this time last year and went back to a tailor-made kind of copy of his old Scotty Cameron gamer. He said he felt like he'd lost a little bit of kind of the feel that kind of old school look and that kind of old school putter had. And then really he went back to a drill that he was using around this time last year, to where he takes an alignment rod and it's got two ends that he can stick into the ground, and then he can kind of put the shaft of his putter up against the end of the back of this alignment rod and just kind of swing back and forth, and the shaft stays on the alignment rod. You know, DJ's tendency is to kind of drag it a little bit inside, going back, and then he cuts across it and kind of hits some wipes. And I think one of the things, you know, he actually played halfway decent ball striking wise at the PGA, but like a lot of those guys, he struggled on the greens, and his speed had just gotten a little bit slow. He wasn't really actually hitting through the putts. And so we worked a little bit last week on just trying to, you know, have the path go back a little bit more neutral, and then get him to, you know, to stay aggressive through impact with his putting stroke.
You know, one of the things that impresses me so much is how comfortable he looks on the golf course. Does he feel any nerves?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, Chris, you played, you know, I mean, if you're not nervous out there, there's something wrong with you. But I do think that, you know, he has a very even-keeled kind of demeanor, and I think that's one of his strengths when he does get into pressure, that he doesn't kind of ride these ebbs and flows of being too high or too low. And over the course of, you know, 18 holes, he keeps things very kind of even. I mean, he's so much more competitive and so much, you know, more intense than he outwardly lets out. So for those of us on our team, I mean, I've never met a guy that's as competitive as he is, and you know, he wants to win more than anybody. And I think he really wants to kind of continue to be number one in the world. You know, this is somewhat of a tale of two seasons for him, to where he had such great form and he was in such a dominant position going into the Masters, and then, you know, to get injured at, you know, the worst possible moment and really, you know, not really play well in the other majors. So I think he wants to continue to stay number one as long as he can, and I think he wants to try and win as many golf tournaments as he can. And when he's in the form like he was last week, I mean, he's a threat to win every week.
Yeah, that competitive spirit seems to be coming out just a little bit more on Sunday. I mean, there was more emotion from Dustin coming down the stretch, and particularly, obviously, the putt that he made on the 72nd hole. And you relayed, you know, what really motivates Dustin. Is it right now just about winning golf tournaments, or is it about taking that number one ranking and now being dominant like he was, we saw in midseason form?
Yeah, I mean, I think the emotion that you saw from DJ was, you know, when you're coming back from an injury and you've been struggling and you've lost a little bit of confidence and you can't do the things that you're trying to do on the golf course with your golf swing because your body won't let you. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating, and I think the emotion that you saw from DJ is getting back, and it's hard to win out there. I mean, you know, Chris knows more than anybody. You know, the guys that are really good make it look easy, but it's tough to win. You know, Jordan's a great player, and I think it was a really important win for not only DJ to get another win, but to play against Jordan, because, you know, Jordan's easily one of the top 2 or 3 best players on tour, and you know, if you can go head to head with Jordan with all of the things that he does and the way he plays golf and the way that he wins golf tournaments, I think DJ will take a tremendous amount of confidence knowing that he, you know, went toe to toe with one of the, you know, if not the best player out there, and was able to, you know, to beat him. And, you know, that's, you know, a rivalry that, you know, that we hope that we'll continue to see. And yeah, I think DJ's number one motivation is he wants to win as many golf tournaments as he can, and he desperately wants to stay number one, you know, for a good long run and prove to everybody that he is the best player in the world.
Hey, Claude, we really appreciate your time. We know you're very busy right now with the playoffs. Good luck to DJ and Brooks Koepka the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Claude.
And Chris and I will be taking a little deeper look at Dustin Johnson later on in the show. But for now, over to you, Damon.
All right, Travis, great conversation. Amazing how the perspective on a player who was once called laconic, an underachiever, mercurial in Dustin Johnson is now maybe the dominant player, a world number one in the PGA Tour. Great to be joined by our insider, Tim Roseford. I love talking about DJ because he's an interesting player. When did the warm turn for DJ in your mind? Was there an aha moment? Was there something physical or mental?
There was. Last year when he started cashing in on with his wedge yardages, and you think what he did on Sunday, 341-yard drive, had 94 in, knocks it in there, basically close enough to kick it in. is ranked in that yardage from 75 to 150 yards. Excuse me, to 100 yards was T147 in 14 and 15. This last 2 years, it's all the way up to T18.
Wow.
So a big difference for him. And it really, he's got great instruction, obviously, the super freakish body that can hit these bombs that nobody can touch in professional golf. But really, it happened by whipping out his credit card at Riviera last year. Came up after the Pro-Am, which he wins with Janet Jones and her son Tristan. And instead of peeling off and going to eat, as he always does, he made a right-hand turn, went back down the hill onto the practice ground at Riviera, and brought out a TrackMan.
Wow.
2 TrackMan reps and a couple of TaylorMade guys. And in an hour in the rain, he kept hitting balls, and he kind of got the feel for it. Walked back up the hill, told his manager, David Winkle, buy me one of those. And from that point forward, it's been a lot easier for Claude and Butch to kind of get DJ dialed in to playing the type of golf that he's playing now, that he played all through yesterday, winning the Open, winning the FedEx Cup event, winning the WGC at Bridgestone, and then this epic year that he's putting together around the injury, of course.
The driver's been such a weapon, and now his wedge game is not equally very close to being one of the best parts of his game as well. He's going to be at TPC Boston this week, Rosie. A lot of players will be there, and some with ties to the Houston area. We all know about the devastation going on there with Hurricane Harvey. What can you tell us?
Well, Patrick Reed sent me a text, 10 to 12 feet of water in his backyard encroaching on his home. So obviously he's got a lot in his mind. He said we have about 2 more feet and the water will be in our home. Our neighbors' homes are completely flooded. So he's dealing with that. Johnny Vegas, different situation. He lives up in the Woodlands. He said their community is surrounded by water, but everyone where he is safe. He's up in the Northeast with his father from Venezuela. His mom is down in in Houston with his wife and his kids. And fortunate to be living where he's living. They've started to cut off the roads up there. He's got plenty of supplies. He's still got power. But it's just a waiting game now, as it is for Chris Stroud, who made a big splash, of course, in the PGA Championship. He's also up in the north side of town in Spring, Texas. Had 20 people over his house. It's kind of equipped for situations like this. Sounded like a pretty good hurricane party until the reality started setting in. And that was when a close friend of his who was staying with him, a former Navy SEAL, got a call saying, hey, we need you to go out and evacuate some people near where you are right now. So they got Stroud's truck, which is one of those monster trucks, big tires, and basically they're driving through that neighborhood. The water level was almost up to where the doors were in that pickup, trying to take people out of there, some of the elderly people. He's at a corporate outing, was at a corporate outing last night in upstate New York, and he got up and made a pledge and a challenge to all the other tour players there to put together some sort of event, a Pro-Am type of tournament to raise funds for those who are feeling the effects of this storm, Hurricane Harvey, down in Mexico, in Houston.
Such a frightening situation, and a lot of people are doing a lot of great work, and our thoughts and prayers are definitely with the people of Houston and the surrounding areas. I know you have more reporting on that situation in the next hour. I want to ask you about Michelle Wie, who we talked about on the weekend. She had an appendix surgery on Sunday. There's a lot of talk about what her season's going to look like the rest of the way. What do you know?
I talked to David Ledbetter last night, and he sort of kiddingly said to Michelle, that's the one ailment I wasn't figuring on, basically playing off all the injuries and ailments and illnesses that have followed her around. If there's a blessing in this, it's that it occurred when it did, not on the golf course, certainly not in the middle of a Solheim Cup. It could have been, could have been bad if she had her appendix burst, obviously, other than any other place than getting it taken care of in the hospital. He says that it's, in his mind, less than 50-50 that she's going to be back for Evian. He talked to a doctor friend of his. Usually 2 weeks is cutting it close for any physical activity who went through having their appendix taken out. And so it's more like 3 to 4 weeks to recover. And with her swing, a lot of stress on the core, obviously. It's going to be a big ask for her to get on a plane, go over and play in the Evian in a major championship. Tough time of year, as he admitted, for something like this to happen, especially not only with this, but with the season-ending events. Still on schedule for her, but she's a resilient player and athlete. Obviously, she's used to bouncing back, and this is another one in her progress that we've been waiting on for years and years and years.
Hope to see her come back healthy soon. More with you in the next hour. And for more on the LPGA, we say good morning to Bailey Mosier.
Good morning, Damon. Yes, thank you. Happening now, 19-year-old Brooke Henderson is looking for a three-peat this week at the Cambia Portland Classic. Last year, she defeated Stacey Lewis by 4 shots, joining Kathy Whitworth and Annika Sorenstam as the only players to successfully defend their titles at this event. Can she make it 3 in a row this week? Also happening now, the first of 4 events in the Web.com Tour Finals begins this week at the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship. The top 25 on the Web.com money list at the end of last week, they already earned their PGA Tour cards for next season, but an additional 25 PGA Tour cards are on the line at the end of the 4-event Web.com Finals. Let's take a look at some notable names in the field this week in Columbus, Ohio. You see Blair, Castro, Mahan, Saunders, and Summerhays. They all finished outside the top 125 on the FedEx Cup and are trying to regain their tour cards. And then Keith Mitchell, he finished last week number 26 on that Web.com regular season money list, just missed getting his PGA Tour card. So rolling right along into the tee sheet for today. Good morning there. It was $6,379 that separated Keith Mitchell from that 25th spot on the Web.com Tour money list. Lucky number 25, well, that was Roberto Diaz, the newly minted PGA Tour member. He's going to be joining us live in just a little bit. And world number 1, Dustin Johnson, won the Northern Trust on Sunday for his 4th victory of the season. Coming up, we're going to show you exactly how DJ has improved in recent years and how you can improve just like him. And another number 1 ranked man who hits it a long way will be on the show this morning as well. We're going to reintroduce you to the top ranked man on the World Long Drive Tour as we get you set for the Volvic World Long Drive Championship. That's next week right here on Golf Channel. Much to get to on this Tuesday, August 29th edition of Morning Drive. We're back right after this.
Good.